Wham! Talk 1600. You're catching the drift. Conservative talk. Intelligent conversations on local, state, and national issues with Gary Wellings, chief editor of the Current newspaper and Current Online. Join in the conversation at 734-822-1600. And now, your host, Gary Wellings.
And good afternoon. This is The Drift. This is not Gary Wellings. Gary Wellings is out on assignment. I personally think he's out hanging out with the penguins from Madagascar, but I could be wrong on that. Right now, Phil's writing down the number to call in here, 734-822-1600. Phil, you don't have to call in. You're behind the mic.
Yeah, I can get my point out. Never even had to touch a telephone. Just listen to the radio.
Yep. Hey, I got a little bit of business to take care of. It's the holiday time. We're all going to put on a little bit of extra weight. In my case, a lot of extra weight. Well, my wife makes like these greatest cookies in the world. I love her Toll House cookies. It's just like I'll eat them by the dozens. So I put on extra weight, and then after the holiday, we have to think of how we're going to lose it. Well, there's a solution. It's bariatric solutions. It's the St. Joseph Mercy Healthcare Systems establishment, and you can lose up to 70% of your excess body weight in the first year. And if you want to learn more about that, they have a free educational seminar December 14th from 6 o'clock to 7:30 p.m. At St. Joseph's Mercy's Brighton, Suite 207. And again, that's Michigan Bariatric Institute. And if you want to lose some of that holiday weight, make it to their educational seminar. Again, that's at the St. Joseph Mercy Brighton, Suite 207 on December 14th, starting at 6 o'clock to 7:30 p.m., or you can give them a call at 877-Y-WAIT. That's Y-W-H-Y-W-E-I-G-H-T. And start working on getting rid of that holiday weight now. So we are filling in for Gary, and a lot's been going on in the last week. We've had, the recounts are going, no longer in Michigan. The recounts have stopped. And they went to the federal court. Federal court says, yeah, we've got to start it by Monday. And then the state court said, no, they did it illegally, and the federal court agreed. Then they went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court, after two of the Michigan Supreme Court justices recused themselves, said, hey, you don't have a case. So in Michigan, the recount has stopped. Wisconsin, the recount is on. It's almost finished, and no change in the outcome. In Wisconsin, still going for Trump. In Pennsylvania, there's going to be some noise from the judge in Pennsylvania, the federal judge, on whether or not he's going to allow the recount. But he didn't sound so happy that they waited to the last minute to go in there and try to do all this.
Well, isn't it a little bit shady when you ask for a recount and it's not for the purposes of thinking that you actually won the election, but maybe a couple of votes here and there got misplaced or something? There's no way possible for Jill Stein to win the election, and yet still they gave. So what they're saying to you is that there's irregularities in the process. Mm-hmm. Well, I say that if there's irregularities, we ought to be looking at fraud,
right?
Voter fraud.
That's not really going to come up in a recount. A recount is just going to count the ballots that are there and see how they went, and that's how it's going to go. And I will say that there's been some issues brought up because of this recount, but it's not going to overturn the election.
No.
And when you say, isn't it a little bit fishy? No, it's a lot fishy when she does it, and you have to figure out why she's doing it. And I believe it's to try to tie up the Electoral College votes of the three states, because if you don't have Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, including their Electoral College votes in, guess what? No one has sufficient in numbers, and then it goes to Congress.
Yeah, well, there's another reason also. There is a possible way that a judge could rule one of the people that is in the election as ineligible to run. And if they throw him out or her, then somebody down the line is eligible to win.
Well, I think more than anything, they knew what was going to happen, and this is just my opinion. Had they been successful in eliminating the Electoral College votes of Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Then it would have gone to Congress for the president. It would have gone to the House of Representatives for the president, and it would have gone to the Senate for the vice president. The outcome would have been the same, except now the Democrats, instead of complaining about they had a loss, they'll sit there and say the Republicans won by fiat of the courts and by Congress, and it was stacked against them, but he didn't really win the election. Thoughts go back to George Bush in Florida, where the Supreme Court intervened. He didn't really win. The Supreme Court gave that to them. And I think they were looking for that.
He was selected, not elected. Yeah.
Right. And I think this was the same thing that they were trying to pull with Trump.
But there is a real viable possibility that somebody could be ruled ineligible. And what they're trying to say is that there was an effort by the Russians to manipulate our elections, and so they if they could tie that to Trump, then somebody could have ruled him ineligible.
No, and here's why. Right now, you could sit there and say that the Canadian vice president was rooting for Hillary. Well, because he was rooting for Hillary, the Canadians manipulated the election and some of the votes for her.
Well, but there is, it says here, leaked information through hacking operations traced by U.S. intelligence to Russia was eerily silent on Trump and the Republican Party throughout the presidential campaign. Yet the same operations exposed moves of secret, sometimes embarrassing personal communications involving Clinton and internal planning by the Democrat National.
Yeah, and all of that actually means absolutely nothing because the voters still showed up.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. They can't go through this whole scenario because of one thing. They needed to disenfranchise all three states.
Yeah.
And guess what? They did not disenfranchise Michigan.
Right.
And with Michigan there, that would mean the 20 Electoral College votes from Pennsylvania and the 10 from Wisconsin. That's 30 Electoral College votes. Off of the 306 Electoral College votes that Trump has, still leaves him with 276, which means he still has enough Electoral College votes to go through. Even if you take this idiot in Texas that says he's going to not vote for Trump, but he's not going to vote for Hillary either.
Yeah.
So okay, he's got 275. It's still sufficient. So you don't have enough to really disenfranchise this vote. And this is what I really think Hillary, who I believe was behind these recounts,
yes, exactly,
was trying to do, was try to disenfranchise those three states enough to get it in front of Congress. And that way, knowing it would still go to Trump, they'd sit there and say, Trump wasn't elected, he was selected.
Yeah.
And that would give them more power come 2020.
Yeah, and it happened with George Bush, as you said. And also, he did not get his cabinet fully in place until like June or something. And then we had 9/11 and a couple of months after that. So, it was a real touch and go situation here.
Yeah. Well, I'm
with them playing politics about somebody being selected, not elected.
I'm finding everything that the liberals are doing right now amusing.
Yeah, it is.
Everything
funny.
They're doing, I'm finding it very amusing.
Yeah.
As I was listening earlier, as the crew was out at Walmart doing 1,600 toys for 1,600 girls and boys.
Yeah.
I stopped by there and I heard Tyrone talking about, the adults are in charge now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we can be a little bit amused at what's happening. Real quick, we have Ken on line 1 who wants to talk about the ballot recount.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Ken, how's it going?
Oh, it's going good, and I just want to comment on both the recount and also the fact of what you mentioned also having to do with, let's get into recount. First of all, we know that the money that is being provided to the Green Party for the recount, as I've heard on other shows like Rush, is actually coming from multiple sources, Hillary Clinton, George Soros. So it's actually Hillary Clinton that wants the recount, thinking that there's going to be a change, and there's not going to be a change.
There's not. There's no hope for a change, and they know it.
This has nothing to do with any chance for the Green Party to win on the vote.
They're still hoping for change.
Yeah. Hope and change.
Yeah.
But the other thing, too, is that, when we're looking at what is transpiring here, I mean, this is just a redirection. I mean, the Democrats, they can't win the election whatsoever, and so they're trying to redirect everybody's attention. And now we're looking at this whole accusation that the Russians hacked the campaign. Well, wait a minute. What we're really looking at is still Hillary did what she did. And so we're trying to redirect people's attention to what she actually did and point to the Russians.
And let's not go past that point. You make a very great point here, Ken. The fact is those emails that were released, they can't deny the information on them. Just because whoever released them doesn't change the fact that the information in those emails are accurate. And therefore, is a good reason why the Democrats lost the election.
And see, that's the whole issue. Now, Hillary, the Democrats, didn't ever deny what the email showed.
Not even a little bit.
No. And so what we're seeing now is we're seeing an attempt to redirect the people's attention from the fact that the emails are legit to the Russians hacked the emails. And this is a bunch of baloney, a bunch of malarkey. Fact is, Hillary is guilty of what the email showed. And so there again, they're just trying to redirect our attention.
Well, I also believe that it's all right to point at the emails and being hacked. It's the pointing at the shiny object over in the corner. You see, the whole thing is they are taking the attention away from voter fraud, real voter fraud. People voting who have absolutely no business voting, illegals, felons, and everything else. Until we get a real, honest way of assessing who's voting and whether or not they should be voting, there's going to be a real mystery as to whether or not these elections are on the up and up.
Now, here's another thing, too. Now, I don't have a problem with people hacking if what is being released is the facts. Mm-hmm. I don't care. Now, I don't believe the Russians did any hacking, but even if they did, who cares? If what they came across was factual, who cares?
Yeah.
And there again, this is just the attempt by the Democrats and by Hillary's people to, well, don't look at me, I broke the law. Don't look at me.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yeah, that's just a shiny object over there.
Kind of like the Wizard of Oz, don't look at the wizard, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah, Ken, I used to, for many years, I used to be a professional illusionist. I don't know if you knew that or not, but I did that for years before I got more involved with the Lord and less involved with the stage. And I did illusions for a lot of time, and I learned that misdirection is a wonderful tool. But you have to learn to see it in politics because it happens all the time.
And that is the only thing the Democrats know is misdirection, because the Democrats can't win an argument with the truth.
Well, I can't argue with that.
I mean, everything about the Democrats is misdirection, it's lies, it's deception. I mean, they can't win with the facts. They can't win with the truth. And so that's all this is let's get the people to look this way, but we're doing something else.
All right.
All it is.
Thanks a lot for your call, Ken. I really appreciate it. You have a blessed day.
You take care.
All right. Hey, folks, if you're looking for something to do this holiday season, make it to Burroughs Roadhouse. Burroughs Roadhouse has some comedy coming up on Santa's Sunday Brunch on December 11th and 18th, and they have seatings at 9:30 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. You can meet Santa there. In the evenings, they have holiday comedy shows, and December 9th and 10th is going to be Ken Evans. And then you have December 16th and 17th, you have Mike Stanley. So a lot of comedy going down at the Burroughs Roadhouse, which is at 5311 Brighton Road. Or you can give them a call to find out who's performing on what nights at 810-227-6000. Again, make it down to Burroughs Roadhouse. Have a nice evening. Enjoy the comedy.